Let's walk the talk.
702.
Every Friday, Clement would be speaking to interesting individuals from different industries, different backgrounds, and he would be letting us into those industries. Have you ever, if you're as old as I am at least, picked up a newspaper? Because I know a number of people just prefer to do that online now. But I remember the days when I'd pick up a newspaper after reading the hardcore stuff. I'd go to some pages and read amazing lifestyle journalism pieces. And they would be so refreshing, almost like energizing you after getting the hardcore news. So we decided that we'd like to invite to the studio lifestyle journalists to give us an insight into what is it that they do and why do they see things so differently from the rest of us. At least that's what I'm thinking. And today we sit down with some of the country's leading lifestyle journalists for an intimate conversation about their craft. We also look at how they capture the pulse of our culture, style, and everyday living while navigating the fast-changing media landscape. This moves from telling stories that inspire to balancing authenticity with demand. And we are joined by Offense Tladi, a former True Love magazine journalist and master's candidate. Offense joins us right now via Zoom. Offense, hi, welcome. I hope you're good. Leading lifestyle. Offense, not, we'll go back to Offense in a short while. And now, we also in the studio, Kaunda who's Tachana, I should say, who's joining us, who's a deputy lifestyle editor at News 24. Kaunda, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me as well.
Please correct my pronunciation of your surname before I embarrass myself even further.
That's middle name Tatiana. My surname is Selisho.
Selisho.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
happy that you came through.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, is lifestyle journalism completely different from mainstream? And by mainstream, I mean current affairs, politics, or do the two fuse into each other in different ways?
I would find that having come from a current affairs reporting background, they do fuse in certain ways, but lifestyle allows you a little bit more room to have more fun. Yeah. Not only in the topics that you cover, but also in the way that you present them to people. Yeah.
So that would obviously determine your writing style.
Yes, it would. Yeah.
Long form?
I prefer long form. That's because I'm a very verbose person.
Yeah.
I've been a verbose writer for most of my career, so that's been a little bit difficult for me to learn to, truncate my writing. But yeah, long form, short form, if it's like a breaking news story and you don't have many details, obviously you would keep it short form. But long form is what I enjoy most when trying to give you that color, paint you that picture, put you in the scene and really give you information that I think would help and apply to your lifestyle, rather, let me say.
Certainly. And earlier on, I said Offense. It's actually Mbatha who's joining us from the City Press. Mbali covers arts, culture, entertainment at the City Press. Mbali, hi, welcome. Third time a charm. Let's try Mbali again. Mbali? No. We'll try one more time. No, I think let's continue. But here's the thing, Kaunda. I think we should also not try to make the latter less important than the former. And do you find that a lot of people make that mistake, thinking that this is a by-the-way side, it's a distant cousin of journalism?
Yes, both inside and outside the newsroom, I would find, especially given such a serious and hard news brand that I work for. Sometimes you'd find that our readers would stumble upon some of our more lifestyle content and they'd ask, why is this on this platform? And I think we, as journalists, also need to do a better job of communicating to people the holistic picture of everything that we're trying to give them. So there is that view that a lot of people have about lifestyle content and entertainment reporting as well.
You said you moved from mainstream, you moved from current affairs, but why did you make the change?
Partially because I feel like personality-wise, I was more inclined to lifestyle, but as a young journalist, you also do end up with that previous stigma that we're talking about, where you think the more serious journalism is on that side of the newsroom. And because I majored in politics and current affairs when I was studying, I thought that was the long-term route that I wanted to take. But the publisher, different editors kept saying to me, you do well in lifestyle. And after months of them convincing me and trying to push me to that side, I ended up moving towards it. And not to say that I wasn't doing well in current affairs. I think the thing about being a good journalist is you can fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
I just excelled more in lifestyle. And I think that's because I was more in tune and aligned to it, also just with my personal interests as well.
Do you find that in South Africa there's less appreciation of lifestyle as opposed to, or attention, maybe not appreciation because it's hard to measure, but attention on lifestyle journalism pieces as opposed to the mainstream or the current affairs? And I'm comparing that with what's happening in the US with New York Times or the New York Post or any of the major leading publications, The Guardian on the other side of the Atlantic also, where readers would really be consumed and would, in many instances, even know the writers, the journalists in their lifestyle. In South Africa, do you think that there's less attention in that space?
I think there is, but that's also because of the previous characterizations of the media where everything lifestyle and entertainment was associated with tabloid and gossip. So that's a characterization that people have. I mean, even with people disparaging the media in general, they put us under that broad umbrella of the media with that negative connotation. Also just not understanding the ways in which we can enrich their lives and plug into their lives. So I do find that is it's something that we have to contend with as well.
Yeah. I'm told that Mbali is now ready and she's joining us. Mbali covers arts, culture, and entertainment at the City Press. Mbali, thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I struggled to connect there for a bit, but I'm good now.
Okay. Welcome. We were just covering with Kaunda in the studio a number of issues around lifestyle journalists. What do you guys do? I mean, you just chill, enjoy life, go to bars, picnics, and go to the office and write about that, and that happens to be your jobs.
I don't know if I should say I'm glad you said that, but I'm glad I have the platform to clear it out because that's essentially what people think our lives are.
Yeah.
Oh, they just go to events, they hang out with celebrities. It's really not as glamorous as people would like to believe that it is. And I'm always just saying that if you want to join the lifestyle journalism space because you are after the parties and the celebrities and the vibes and the free alcohol, like you've just mentioned, then it will swallow you because those things are a part of our job. Yes, they are a part of our job, but there's still the responsibility to report factually in the same sense that a journalist who is in politics has got the same responsibility. So, I mean, just because we've got all of those things doesn't necessarily take away the fact that we also have to report ethically as much as everybody else does. Even if we are reporting from an event, it still has to be done ethically and factually.
Arts, Mbali, can be a divisive subject in many instances because you have those conventionalists who are staunch and very vehement, stringent on their thoughts, and this is just what art is and nothing else. And art has been polluted by this, that, and the other. And on one end, it evolves and it finds itself in different terrains, interpreted differently. Do you find that there is controversy at times in what you do more than what we think there is, as opposed to politics and other things that you've just covered? Because this can also be a very contentious space.
The art space is very interesting. Actually, just speaking about some of the things that we have to contend with, I just came from the Fame Week Africa that was held in Cape Town. Well, it's still ongoing, but I'm back in Joburg now. And when you speak of controversies, one of the things that was unpacked at the festival was the very controversial subject of the United States and Trump's presidency and some of the things that he's trying to implement, because the artists were discussing how the Trump era is affecting the arts and culture space in their various parts of the world. It's a global festival. I don't know how many countries were there this year, but I know that last year there were about 110 countries, 50 of which were African, and then the other countries were from other parts of the world. So, again, when you talk about art evolving, I don't think anybody who existed in the art space, let me say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, would have ever imagined that the political space that Trump is in would have such an effect on arts and culture. The Canadians were speaking about how their artists get arrested for being illegally in the USA, even when they are in possession of their passports. They were talking about how difficult it is to shoot films in the USA now. So yeah, it does evolve as the world evolves, and it also, the art space gets entangled in other sectors that exist in the world, because we cannot exist in silos. As much as the world is changing, the world is evolving, things are happening in the world, it also affects the arts and culture space. It also finds its way into this space.
Let me come back to you, Kaunda. What sort of pieces do you enjoy writing? Where you are most at home? And I'm sure you'll say all of them. But is there a particular space where you're saying, we haven't done enough work, and in this space, my voice would be louder and it would add more value?
So currently the verticals that I am in charge of are wellness and relationships. So that, in addition to covering travel pieces, are things that I quite enjoy, especially as it relates to wellness, because I think a lot of it has been spoken about in a way that talks at people. And the wellness space is bigger than we could imagine, especially in South Africa, given how we're doing with our health and the way it affects the economy and the longevity of people's lives. So that's a space that I'm quite enjoying focusing on, demystifying and learning. I'm an eternal student as a journalist, so I'm quite enjoying the wellness space and also the travel space, which is a space that I find doesn't have much representation when it comes to Black people. And also just information for them, because even though we've come quite far as a country, a lot of people forget the residual effects of that, not just in the country, but in the world, where someone might think a destination is out of their reach because they just might not feel that they'll be comfortable, they'll be accommodated, they'll be welcomed when they go there. So with a little bit of an element of liking things as a journalist, you go and you try it out, and then you give people the information in a way that's useful to them.
On the wellness space matter, there is a lot of ambiguity about the terminology itself. And I suppose we need to do more crafting around that, or it could simply be my ignorance. But I find it to be so huge and ambiguous. And having written about it yourself, what are some of the existing misnomers about wellness? Because I would assume it covers mental wellness and various other forms of wellness. But where are we? What is it that we're not getting about wellness?
I think what we're not getting about wellness is, number one, alternative forms of medicine, but not to say alternative in that I heard this from my neighbor down the street, because I find a lot of that in my reporting, but just alternative in that it's not the mainstream, but it's still something that's been researched, scientifically backed. It's just not backed by big pharma, and big business. So there's also that. And then misnomers, especially when it comes to mental health. I don't get as much engagement on those kinds of topics as I hope I would from the audience. I don't, as much as it is a problem, I don't find that I'm connecting with the people who take it seriously and want to consume that information en masse. But it's something that I still find that's very important, especially in the Black community, with the ways that we've been speaking about it. So yes, we're definitely evolving, we're changing. Older generations are becoming more open-minded, and generations that exist outside of suburban centers as well are getting that information to them. It's just not happening as fast as I'd personally hope it would be.
And my guest, Kaunda, is Deputy Lifestyle Editor at News 24, and Mbali, Arts and Culture Entertainment Writer at the City Press. Across the desk feature today, we are speaking to lifestyle journalists, and they write amazing pieces, and we see them online, also on print. And these are some stories that really help us to think a little bit deeper. And one thing about this form of journalism, when you pick up a piece and you love it, you really, 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 really love it so much that you want to hold on to it. You just don't read and let it go and dispose of it. Mbali, I wanted to come to you and to ask almost the same question as I did with Tatiana about the kind of beat that you enjoy within the arts and culture entertainment. I would assume it's more than just writing about an artist releasing an album, and this is their fourth in their discography, and this time around they're wearing a red jacket on the sleeve, and so on and so on. It goes a little bit deeper than that. In your attempts, what are you showing us that we're not seeing that is different from the entertainment space?
Actually, what you're talking about now, so-and-so has released his fourth album. He likes to wear red shirts in all of his album covers. This time he's wearing a blue shirt. I really just like to ask different questions. I don't think that if you speak to anybody that I've ever interviewed, they will tell you that I've asked them ever at any point in their life, what is it that inspired you to get into whatever line of work you're in? Because I feel like people answer that question every day. If you Google any artist of your choice, what inspired, I don't know, Dr. John Kani to become an actor, for example, you would find it. Somebody has said it. A few people have said it. So I always try to ask questions differently. But I think I also am with Kay in terms of the travel work. I thoroughly enjoy writing about the arts in particular. And I always just try to interweave it into other aspects of lifestyle. For example, I once did a piece where I intermarried tourism and filmmaking, whereby I was just letting my readers know that when you are watching, I don't know, The Queen and somebody's getting married and it's a very nice venue where they're getting married, there are people who are tasked to scout the locations.
Yes.
And those people, I don't think location scouts, their job goes as far as finding a nice venue for Sbu and Tandega to get married. It's also to let South Africans know that in such and such a part of South Africa, there is such and such a space that you can visit if you are into wildlife, if you are into, I don't know, the ocean, etc. So I always like to just bring in different aspects of things and just marry them together. Because, I mean, one of the things that I would like to see happening more is South Africans traveling within our own country. It's very nice that people can afford to go overseas, and if you can, that's great. But I mean, let us start here at home. And I try to do that when I write about the arts and just give a platform to other areas of our country that can be interwoven into the arts, and just give that education and let my readers know.
Yeah. I want to ask you about some of the people that you used to read in the space that you're occupying right now, both of you. And I'm afraid of mentioning some names myself, because I don't know if those brilliant writers want to be clustered or put into the category of lifestyle journalism, and they'll see themselves as journalists. But I found that those pieces were extremely provocative. I mean, Leslie Mofokeng, when he wrote about Brenda Fassie, you wouldn't find that richness of content anywhere. And yes, it would be about Sis Brenda that we know, but he'd bring in a whole lot of nuance and subcultures that we never even thought. And we just saw a performer being a diva, but they would link it to a psychological premise that exists and so on. So I think, and I find those extremely eye-opening. So Kaunda, I wanted to find out from you, and I'll come to you, Mbali, as well. The people that you read, who are you reading, and why do you choose them?
So growing up, I was an avid reader, and I enjoyed the fact that I come from a time where there weren't as many distractions as there are now. So when I was done with a book, I would read the Sunday Times front to back on a Sunday. Every Sunday with my dad, it was a tradition. He'd go out in the morning, come back with the papers, and my dad was a very observant parent, as was my mom. So when he'd go out, he'd bring me like a stack of magazines. So I would read all of them. But I grew up mostly on Sunday Times and True Love. So writers like, I used to love columnists. Fred Kumalo, I used to love reading his column. Like you said, Brad Leslie. When I was an intern back then it was Times Media, now it's Arena. I went and I introduced myself to him because the newsroom was vast and you got introduced to all the editors. But like you said, the entertainment space wasn't considered. So they were introducing us to all the news editors, all the production editors, and I went and I introduced myself to Leslie, and I'm like, I'm here, I'm an intern, I only have a year, anything you want to use me for, I'm available.
Yeah.
In true love, the likes of Lerato Shabalala,
Of course.
you know,
Yes.
reading the editor's letter at the beginning. Now, as much as I'm working with her, but I am a magazine fangirl, Mbali Soga, enjoying reading those editor's letters at the beginning of the publication. Those are the people that I grew up reading. I know I'm leaving out quite a few, but I just used to read everything.
I see. I mean, so let's come to you, Mbali. I'm thinking of names like, and I'm sure he'll shout at me for putting him in this category later on and insult me. But nonetheless, when you reminded me of him, when you mentioned the Sunday Times, I mean, the Sunday Times was not the Sunday Times without Bongani Matondo.
Yes.
I mean, what a prolific, underrated, right-hand side that we should be doing far more to celebrate Bongani Matondo. Mbali, you, some names that come to mind?
Funny you should say that, because I actually currently have a copy of Bongani Matondo's I Am Not Your Weekend Special. It's a book. It's actually about Peda Fasi.
Yeah.
I got it a few months ago. I'm not done reading it. An unfortunate thing happened. I got the book because I was researching something that I wanted to write about. I wanted to write about South African, impactful South African women in music. And it was part of my research. And as I was doing the research, I started to uncover some very, shall you say, toxic things about the music industry and how women then were treated. And I just, to protect my mental health, I felt like, let me park this for now and just gather my strength, and then I'll continue reading it when I feel better mentally. But my history with reading is a little bit different, quite different from Kay's.
Yeah.
I am very sorry. I am now very much, well, I'm not ashamed of it, but it's quite embarrassing. I consumed a lot of Sweet Valley High in high school.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Lifestyle journalism comes under the limelight today on Across the Desk, and we're speaking to lifestyle journalists who are joining us right now. Mbali Mbatha, arts, culture and entertainment writer at City Press, and across from my desk is Kaunda, who is a deputy lifestyle editor at News 24. And we just wanted to find out what goes into the world of lifestyle journalism generally, the pieces that you read that you love so much, people behind them, but also what makes it so different, and how does it really change the narrative of a country, because lifestyle journalism has the potential of doing that. And at times we move from one narrative to the other without even knowing subconsciously our thoughts, our opinions about this, that change, and all the people responsible for drafting those narratives in front of me this morning. Feel free to engage with them. If you've got a question for them, you are most welcome to do so. Send your voice notes to 0727021702. Alternatively, call us directly and I will give you an opportunity to share your thoughts with them on 011-883-0702. 011-883-0702. 23 minutes to 11 o'clock. Kaunda, I'm just thinking about how South Africa is changing, and I wanted your thoughts together with Mbali on this one, because things that were a norm previously, be it outings, weekend activities, have changed, especially for the majority of this country. It would be rare to have found black people talking about fishing and those similar things. We were almost a black and white country. But now, golf has just taken a life of its own. And not just across color lines, but genders as well. It's something else.
Dabbing up here.
So sorry about that. But from generally from all those changes, the evolution that has taken place, Please share with us, how is it informing your writing? Because it means that the sources of inspiration, of information also change. How are you navigating around it?
I always try and keep the person I'm writing for in mind, in addition to thinking about the kind of person I'd like to reach that I previously wouldn't have. So going out, and not just in my capacity as a journalist, I personally enjoy these things. So going out to restaurants, not just when you're invited, but when you'd like to spend your own money and go and check out the latest place, or go and taste the latest menu by a chef, go and, like I recently did, take your baby on safari for the first time.
Yeah.
Going out and actually experiencing these things and seeing the kinds of real life people who are doing these things kind of informs to a degree what you write. And also just engaging with the young and up and coming content creators.
Yeah.
So whereas you would have mentored and engaged with young intern journalists before, now you're also contending with content creators who have the same interest in the same space that you are in, but may not have the training that you have, but they also have a very interesting perspective and an audience that they speak to. So those are some of the ways that engaging with people, both who are doing these things as part of their lifestyle, but reporting on them as well. That's how that colors my reporting a little bit.
Yeah. And Mbali, tell us about, do you write from your lenses, or do you incorporate other people's views as well and subjects that you've interacted with?
I do both. And I also agree with Kay in terms of engaging with people. There is nothing I hate more than somebody who asks me to send them questions on WhatsApp or email. I would rather, I prefer actually having a meeting with someone.
Yeah.
If it is absolutely impossible for us to have a meeting, I'd rather we have a Teams. I'd rather we have a phone call. I feel like it takes away, answers that you receive when you've sent the questions via email or WhatsApp sound very rehearsed to me.
Yeah.
So I don't really like to do that. But yes, engaging with people is very, very important. There's a certain level of connectivity that you get with somebody when you interact with them telephonically or even in person that is missing when somebody's just sending voice notes or somebody's just typing a text. There's something that you mentioned earlier about the world changing and the role of the arts in that. There's something that was said, I'm a John Kani stan. There's something that was said by John Kani a few months ago. And Selisho from MultiChoice actually reiterated the same thing, where they said that people don't understand the role of artists in social cohesion. A lot of the times, artists are understood as just entertainers.
Yeah.
And John Kani took it further when I spoke to him to say that even when the world was changing, when he was younger, when the world was trying to change away from apartheid, the influential people who were decision makers and who were instrumental in helping this country transition away from that were not quoting politicians. They were quoting plays. They were quoting journalists. They were quoting music. They were quoting writers and authors. So as people, I think it's very important for us to understand that artists are not just entertainers. These are people that actually educate us, because a lot of the times, especially in terms of taking kids to the theater, for example, kids are more likely to learn when you take them to the theater. Maybe the show is about, I don't know, a child's body being touched in the wrong ways.
Yes.
Kids that age are more likely to grasp the information if you take them to the theater and there's a 10-year-old who is their age who is experiencing that, than a teacher who is kind of lecturing to them. So, I mean, I would appreciate if we could get to a point where we actually understood the role of the arts as educators.
Yeah, and let's go to a voice note that came through on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Thabo. This is Tando. I am a journalism graduate. Haven't practiced as a journalist, but I know journalism 101, you know. I find that lifestyle journalism, because it was associated with tabloids and gossip, I find that entertainment journalists are becoming lazier by just going on Twitter, going on TikTok, and then taking stories from there and making them headlines. That's why you'd find a lot of people asking, why is this on such a platform? Because they associate that platform or that publication with hot news, you know. I feel like entertainment journalists need to do better and not just take what we've already seen on social media and put it up as breaking news or as you know, a big story.
Yeah, Kaunda, you want to respond?
I definitely do. Having worked at different publications over the years, I find that we suffer the stigma of someone not actually clicking through and reading the article. And yes, there are people en masse who are guilty of what the gentleman in the voice note just outlined now. But for the most part, as someone who, out of curiosity, I click on the headline and I read it to see if the thought I had about it before opening it was confirmed in the content. And more often than not, you'll find that it isn't, depending on the sources that you tend to consult for these kinds of things. So some sources take their readers more seriously than others. And as much as, like I said, there are people who are guilty of the practice he's outlined, when you actually open the piece, there is interesting context that is given. Whether you're reading Mbali's newsletter that she sends out every week or you're reading an article, you will find that for someone who immerses herself in the spaces, she's giving you the color, she's giving you the context, she's giving you, yes, she's speaking about a topic that's of interest to people at the moment, and you'll find that it's trending online. But there are additional things that she finds in her work as a journalist, and I'm using her as a totem for most of the other journalists that I know and that I interact with and that I respect. They do the work. There are people that don't, but more often than not, there are people that do the work, and that's what sets women like Mbali and other journalists in the space apart. And I encourage people like the person who sent the voice note and other readers to find the voices in the space and support their work and engage with them. And you'll find that they are giving you value for your money and value for your time and attention as well.
Mbali, you want to respond to Tando's voice note?
I would definitely love to jump in. He's not wrong. And it's so bad to the extent that it's not just individual journalists who are doing that. There are actual, I don't know if I can call them publications, but there are platforms who actually, that is the bulk of what they do. But I mean, in my writing, for example, I'm going to speak about my own work. What I would do, I'll make an example of an article I wrote. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, where just as Unlaledi Pando was very active in her activism for Gaza and Palestine, I then wrote an article about whether South Africa was ready for a woman president or not. And Kay is absolutely right in saying that people will see the headline and then just assume that, oh, it's about this, when it isn't. In that article, and a lot of people who just saw the headline and got excited and started saying things won't even know this, but the article was not about Unlaledi Pando. I actually referenced African women. I took it back to history. I went into other African countries and referenced countries that are led by women and the differences that those women have made in those countries. What I also like to do in my articles, for example, if I'm writing, the influencer story that was trending on social media just recently about the Russia saga. Yes. I like to see what everybody else has written. If there is an article there that has got context, I know I quoted an article where TikTok had actually been interviewed and they had distanced themselves from the whole thing. And they had said when they spoke to that platform that they are investigating and they are banning accounts that are associated with that START program. Now, if you are somebody who reads the work of journalists, you would have picked that up. If the influencers themselves, TikTok has now banned their accounts, but TikTok had been quoted saying they are not aligned with this. So it was just weird for me that people were posting content on the same platform that had distanced itself from that particular occurrence. Yes. So yes, it's very important that even when you see an article that seems to be about the allegations that Nandi Pamagudumana is pregnant because somebody started that rumor on Facebook, if there's an article by a journalist, read it, trust, there is going to be something deeper that you will find there that you're not going to find on social media.
Very interesting. I want us to at least delve into that a little bit deeper. But first, 12 minutes to 11 o'clock.
Go to primemediaplus.com.
9 minutes to 11 o'clock on 702. We have Across the Desk feature today with lifestyle journalist Mbali and Kaunda. And we just shooting the breeze about the industry, that particular space, some of the things that you did not know about, but suppose now you are more enlightened on them as far as lifestyle journalism is concerned. But I'll come to you, but let me first ask Kaunda this. We live in a very interesting country. Where politicians double as celebrities and also as thought leaders, and they occupy a social space that goes beyond the boundaries that they ought to live within, at least formally. And I'm not suggesting that we are one-dimensional beings. But they flirt with all of these things. Today, this person is a politician. Tomorrow, they want to take pictures and tell us they are dressed by whoever and whoever. And when it suits them, they are occupying another. What does that do for your work to truly identify subjects that are authentically in the space that you occupy? Or do you find that there is somehow a conflation of issues through and through?
There is a conflation of issues, but it also presents a dilemma for us for platforming harmful people. It's difficult when you kind of want to report on the State of the Nation address because you recognize that 30,000 pair of shoes that's on some feet right now. But you have to be very careful in how you frame it, and you have to be very careful in balancing the public interest with some of these things and contextualizing the information. So especially someone who's been in the headlines since he got his dream of joining Parliament has been Gayton McKenzie.
Yes.
Who at the same time as joining Parliament has been on his wellness journey but has said some harmful things, has made promises to a lot of people in the sector that he didn't keep. It's how do you balance all sides of Gayton? The person who's losing weight for his house, which is a very big issue in South Africa given the rates of obesity that we have, and the person who said the things that he's in front of the Human Rights Commission and other bodies for, it creates a very difficult dilemma. But for us, specifically in our newsroom, we very much lead with balancing the public interest and also not platforming harmful people. Even if they've said something interesting and it's what people are talking about in the moment, do we want to amplify that just for the sake of having the views, or do we want to enrich the conversation in a very specific way is the question that we ask ourselves quite often.
Striking that balance must be very intricate.
It's very intricate. It involves a lot of diary discussions, heated diary discussions where colleagues sometimes shoot glares at each other and don't talk to each other for a few hours. But you need people in newsrooms who aren't afraid of confrontation, who are fearless, and who will say the thing that needs to be said, because you can't have one mind and one voice making decisions for such a mass platform. You need differing perspectives, and you need sometimes a very hard discussion to be had before we arrive at the decision that we arrive at to do the thing or not do the thing in some cases.
Mbali, please jump in.
I have a funny story to share, actually. I think because of the work that we do, it also is forgotten sometimes that we are human. And there are things that we like and the things that we don't like. As much as everybody has things that they like and dislike, we also have people that we like and people that we dislike, people who we disagree with and who we would not want to surround ourselves with. I was unfortunate enough to be asked very politely to accompany a colleague of mine to do an interview with, I don't know if I can say the name, but there is somebody who is one of the loudest. Well, there's somebody who is one of the guys who just say some very misogynistic stuff on social media. So I unfortunately had to go and interview that person. I had blocked the person on Twitter, but for the purposes of that interview, I had to unblock him, go through his content, so that I could prepare for the interview. I get there and it was very, very interesting, some of the things that he said. And the interview is completed, it's edited, it was supposed to be on video. And then the decision-making that Kay is speaking about in terms of profiling and platforming harmful people. There was a decision that was made to say, nope, we are not
Oh, we lost you
going
there.
to say these things on our platform. He essentially said, sorry, I was saying that a decision was made where
Yes.
my superiors decided that they were not going to fly to that interview because he said a lot of things, but at the core of it was women are dumb inherently, all women, including his mother.
What?
According to him, the smartest thing that she's ever done was give birth to him.
Heman.
So yeah, they ended up not flighting that interview because it was a matter of not wanting the city press platform to be used for people who are going to be saying things like that, because there's also a lot of people who agree with him who would have then taken it and ran with it. So I guess they were just trying to ensure that that didn't happen on the city press platform.
Yeah. I mean, guys, we only have 30 seconds each left for this conversation. We could speak for hours and hours. Is there any particular piece, or be it yours or someone else's, that you think it's still iconic and deserves a golden award for this genre of the work that you do?
In 30 seconds, that is so much pressure.
I know.
I enjoy people who aren't afraid to say the thing. So I will always put forward my friend Emmanuel Gia's name, editor of So It's an S-Mag, who had an interview he was supposed to do with Dali Wonga. And you know, our Amapiano artists are notorious for missing gigs, missing bookings, missing appointments. And he was the cover star, but they set the shoot and the interview on different days.
Yeah.
He arrived for the shoot. They had the images, they had the materials, they had the cover, but he didn't arrive for the interview, and Emmanuel had to write a story. So he wrote a story about how much he admires this artist, the cultural impact that he has, but that he didn't show the respect to show up for the interview, and what that did to him both as a professional and as a fan of the artist. And I still enjoy that piece of reading till today.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's just something that I enjoy. I do enjoy people who are not afraid to say the thing, because in an age of influencers and people wanting to be liked, everyone always wants to be seen as being hyper positive, even when it's not helpful.
Yeah.
I appreciate the voices who will say what needs to be said.
Very briefly, Mbali.
I'd actually like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to TD. I also, apart from lifestyle journalism, I do a lot of advocacy for women and children. And there was a politician who had said some just things about TD that made me want to smack him, but I couldn't. So I used my voice and I wrote an opinion piece addressing exactly that.
Fantastic. And thank you, ladies. This has been eye-opening. Really appreciate your time. I've learned so much. All the best to you. A minute to 11 o'clock.